Let's begin with the basic concept. A timeline is a structured, chronological representation of events organized by date and time. Instead of viewing information as isolated data points, it presents them as a continuous sequence: what happened, when it happened, and in what order. In OSINT, a timeline allows us to transform scattered information into a coherent sequence of developments. It helps us understand sequences of events, clearly identify gaps or contradictions, discover connections between actions, cross-reference multiple sources, detect recurring patterns or behavioral shifts, to reconstruct the full picture chronologically. When do we use a timeline? We use a timeline in several investigative contexts. First, when investigating a specific event, such as an attack, protest, accident, media campaign, or cyber incident, the goal is to understand what preceded what, and to identify key turning points. Second, when analyzing an individual, a timeline allows us to track location changes, career shifts, posting behavior patterns, relationships formed over time. Third, when investigating an organization or a network. Here, the timeline helps identify the founding date, the beginning of certain activities, correlations between external events and internal actions. We also use timelines to identify contradictions or verify an alibi. When there are conflicting versions of events, a timeline allows us to determine whether the timeframes actually align. Finally, timelines are critical for long-term pattern analysis. For example, gradual radicalization, changes in public messaging, coordination between multiple accounts, key steps in constructing a timeline. Now that we understand what a timeline is and when we use it, let's move step by step through the construction process. Step 1. Define the objective. Before collecting information, we must clarify who or what is the focus. A person, organization, or event. What is the relevant date range? What are we trying to understand? Connections, pre-planning indicators, behavioral shifts, escalation patterns. The timeline must serve a clear research objective. Step 2. Collect open sources. Once the objective is defined, we move to collection. Main sources may include social media platforms, news articles, public databases, official documents, forums, web archives such as the Internet Archive, Wayback Machine. At this stage, we collect broadly but carefully. Step 3. Record raw data. Next, we document everything in a structured table. Basic structure: date, time, event, source link notes, additional recommended columns, time zone, evidence type, post, image, video, document, metadata, confidence level, high/medium/low, archive link, analyst comments. At this stage, we do not analyze. We only document. Objectivity and accuracy are critical. Step 4. Organize chronologically. After documentation, we organize the data, arrange all events in chronological order, normalize timestamps, preferably to UTC, remove duplicates, clearly distinguish between verified facts, reported claims, unverified information. The purpose here is structural clarity and internal consistency. Step 5. Identify developments and turning points. Once the timeline is structured, we begin examining it. We look for escalation patterns, frequency changes, behavioral shifts, trigger events, periods of inactivity, clusters of activity. This stage supports analytical insight, but it does not replace formal intelligence assessment. Step 6. Present the timeline clearly. Finally, we present the timeline in a professional format. This can be a structured table in Excel or Sheets, a visual timeline in PowerPoint, a chronological narrative. We must ensure clear and accurate dates, neutral and factual wording, source transparency, consistent formatting. Important clarification: the timeline is an organizational and analytical support tool. It should be developed in alignment with the intelligence work process learned in class, but it does not replace structured intelligence analysis, assessment, or conclusions. The timeline organizes reality. The analysis interprets it.